Good morning, students. Today we are going to see a new lesson, and name of that lesson is Taro's Reward. Actually, this is a story from Japan. So this is Japanese story which we are going to see in this session. So Taro's Reward is a popular fairy tale in Japan. It involves the story of a son Taro who wanted to fulfill the wishes of his father. Means students here, do you like to read or hear fairy tales? Like other fairy tales, this is also a magical fairy tale. Means some magical elements are there in a fairy tale. So similar to fairy tales of other, this Japanese fairy tale also have some magical elements. Some enchanting situation or moments are there. So let's see this story in detail with help of pictures. We will discuss summary here first. So Taro was a young woodcutter and he was living with his old parents on a lonely hillside where he was earning very small amount of money from his work, and what he was doing, he was cutting trees from the forest. So he was a woodcutter, as I said first, and all day he was chopping trees. And though he was chopping all day trees, he gets very less amount of money with his from his work. So this made him very sad because he was thinking that I should serve my old parents and give them whatever they needed. So one day in the evening, it was very cold atmosphere. So his Taro's father said that I wish I had a cup of sake. This made Taro sadder than ever. For the sake, it was very expensive to buy. However, next morning he got up earlier than as usual and made for the forest. Means what happened one evening? That Taro was sitting with his parents and his father was feeling very cold because he was very old and he was living in a very small hut. In that hut, there were long streams were blowing, and due to that long cold breeze stream, he was long wind stream. He was feeling very cold, so he wished that he could drink sake, but it was very costly to buy him. So next morning, Taro jumped out of bed earlier than as usual and made his way to the forest. And as the sun climbed, and soon he was so warm because he was continuously cutting and chopping trees. He chopped and chopped out and cut the trees, and he wanted to take off his jacket because he was feeling very, very hot due to continuously doing work. And he felt very thirsty also. His mouth was dry and he felt thirsty. So he wanted to drink some water. So he went in search of water. And at the time of cutting trees, he was thinking about his father only. My poor old father, if only he was as warm as I am now. Means after cutting trees, he was feeling warm and he was sweating literally. And with that, he began to chop even faster, thinking extra money. And what happened after that? After cutting continuously trees or chopping, he was feeling very thirsty and his mouth started to dry. So he dropped his axe and he ran to the direction of the sound because he heard some sound, and he was thinking that this side of forest there is no any stream of water, so how can I hear the water sound? So he ran towards the sound of water. Then suddenly a sound of water falling somewhere nearly made Taro stop his work. He had never seen or heard of rushing water nearby, so he was very thirsty. He ran into that direction and he saw small but beautiful waterfall. He drank the liquid, but to his surprise, it was not water but sake. Taro had a pitcher with him. He filled it with delicious liquid and hurried home. Pitcher means we can say older times or ancient times water bottle we can say. So he filled that divine water, which was not water actually, which was a sake. So the old man was delighted with the liquid. After drinking that liquid, he was feeling very fresh and energetic. He took just one swallow. This stopped his shivering. He started shivering because of cold weather. So after drinking the sake, he was feeling very fresh and he began to dance. This was way to show his happiness. He started to show his happiness because he was very happy after drinking sake. And that day they had a visitor from the village and they offered sake to them. And Taro told her story of the magic waterfall. So the story spread. Other villagers came to Taro's house and they came to Taro's house, and within half an hour the pitcher was empty because Taro distributed that sake to each and everyone from that village. So student, what happened? This Taro distributed sake to each and everyone in the village. So what happened after some time? That pitcher was empty. Means he finished that sake. So next morning, much before Taro, all the villagers had reached the magic waterfall. Means they started to visit that magic waterfall. However, they became angry when they tasted the liquid. It was nothing but cold water. They were very angry and wanted to drown Taro, who they thought had cheated them. Taro hid himself in the forest to escape there. And when they had gone, he tasted the liquid himself. It was the same fine sake. It was now clear that the magic waterfall gave sake only to Taro. To to all others, it gave only water. Obviously, God was kind to Taro because he was a thoughtful son. Mean students, what happened here? When the Taro distributed sake to his neighbor and other villagers, and because he was very kind and very thoughtful son, that news spread all over the village by the evening, and all visitors started to visit the Taro's house, and each man took a sip of the sake and heard the story of waterfall, and in less time the pitcher was empty, means that bottle was empty. So next morning Taro started for work even earlier than the morning before. So he carried with him a larger pitcher he owned, for he intended first of all to go to the waterfall. When he reached there, to his great surprise, he found all his neighbors were there, and they were carrying pitchers, jars, buckets, anything they could find to hold the magic sake. And then one villager told that One villager tried to drink that sake, but to his wonder, that was only cold water. And he drank again and again, then shouted angrily, "Water! Nothing but water! We have been tricked! Where is Taro? Let's draw him in this waterfall, drown him in this waterfall." Others also tried. Others also tried, but there was no sake, only cold water was there. Luckily, Taro had been wise enough to slip behind the rock, means he hid himself behind the rock and he saw how things were going. So now able to be, he was hiding there. And after some time, when all his neighbors disappeared and they went to the village again, and Taro came out of the hiding place, and it was true. He was wonder, was the sake a dream? Once more he got a little liquid in his hand and put it to his lips, and it was the same fine sake. So to his, means what, students, he was a thoughtful son. The magic waterfall gave delicious sake to Taro only, and to everyone else only cold water. So when you do good things, when you help others, and when you obey your parents and try to help them, you will get a good fruit of it. So the story of Taro and his magic waterfall reached to the emperor, and he sent for Taro, means he called Taro and rewarded him with 20 pieces of gold. Then he named the most beautiful fountain of the city after Taro. This was to encourage all children to honor and obey their parents. Means Taro set an example in front of all the children how they should be and how to obey their parents. Then you can see here the emperor and the Taro and small children, and he gave his name to a waterfall because king want to encourage all children to honor and obey their parents. So students, you can see here new words given. First word is hillside, means close to hill. For example, I have given some sentences also. So sentences, his home is on a lonely hillside. Next word is expensive, means costly. So sentences, computers are very expensive. Delicious means tasty. Jalebi is very delicious. Instead of means in place of. I have a red pen instead of this. Politely means gently. So what is the sentence for this? You should talk politely with your elders. So students, what you are going to do here? You are going to read the lesson one more time. And the lesson, while reading the lesson, what you will do? You will underline hard words and you will note down in your notebook. And you will write new words with meanings from the textbook. Right side of the page, you have new words with meanings given. So note down all the new words in your notebook with meaning. And you can add these words also with the sentence, and you try to write new words while using, and you can make a new sentence from it also. So this way you can do this activity as a homework. So do you like the story? It was very interesting, no? How Taro was very obedient and thoughtful son, and how God helped him, and what fruit he got of his hard work? That he got a sake, a very delicious liquid of, and it was very warm and very fine taste. So Here we have seen a nice fairy tale, Japanese fairy tale of Taro. So students, what is the moral of the story? Yes, moral of the story is we should take care of our parents and elders. God only helps those persons who takes good care of their parents. Means you should also take care of your parents, obey them, and you should respect them, elders and your parents. And when you will do all these things, what will happen? God will definitely help you, and He will also treat you with amazing wonders in your life. So, we are going to see now a story which is very good animation effects. And after watching this story, you will learn more about Taro and his reward. His reward was given by whom? His reward was given by king also and by God also, because he was very hardworking and he got sake. So he got sake as a reward from God, and he got reward of 20 to 25 pieces of gold coins from king also. So this was a nice story of a thoughtful son. And what was his name? His name was Taro. So read the story one more time with underlining hard words and try to search meaning of these words in the dictionary. So this way, if you will study, you will get good marks in the exam also. And you have to write down question answers. I will send that question answers in PDF after some days. So, all the best, students. Have a nice day.
A young woodcutter named Taro lived with his mother and father on a lonely hillside. All day long he chopped wood in the forest. Though he worked very hard, he earned very little money. This made him sad, for he was a thoughtful son and wanted to give his old parents everything they needed. One evening, when Taro and his parents were sitting in a corner of their hut, a strong wind began to blow. It whistled through the cracks of the hut, and everyone felt very cold. Suddenly, Taro's father said, "I wish I had a cup of sake. It would warm me and do my old heart good." This made Taro sadder than ever, for the heart-warming drink called sake was very expensive. "How do I earn more money?" he asked himself. "How do I get a little sake for my poor old father?" He decided to work harder than before. Next morning, Taro jumped out of bed earlier than usual and made his way to the forest. He chopped and cut as the sun climbed, and soon he was so warm that he had to take off his jacket. His mouth was dry and his face was wet with sweat. "My poor old father," he thought, "if only he was as warm as I." and with that he began to chop even faster, thinking of the extra money he must earn to buy the sake to warm the old man's bones. Then suddenly, Taro stopped chopping. What was that sound he heard? Could it possibly be rushing water? Taro could not remember ever seeing or hearing a rushing stream in that part of the forest. He was thirsty. The axe dropped out of his hands and he ran in the direction of the sound. Taro saw a beautiful little waterfall hidden behind a rock. Kneeling at a place where the water flowed quietly, he cupped a little in his hand and put it to his lips. Was it water? Or was it sake? He tasted it again, and always it was the delicious sake instead of cold water. Taro quickly filled the pitcher he had with him and hurried home. The old man was delighted with the sake. After only one swallow of the liquid, he stopped shivering and did a little dance in the middle of the floor. That afternoon, a neighbor stopped by for a visit. Taro's father politely offered her a cup of sake. The lady drank it greedily and thanked the old man. Then Taro told her the story of the magic waterfall. Thanking them for the delicious drink, she left in a hurry. By nightfall, she had spread the story throughout the whole village. That evening, there was a long procession of visitors to the woodcutter's house. Each man heard the story of the waterfall and took a sip of the sake. In less than an hour, the pitcher was empty. Next morning, Taro started for work even earlier than the morning before. He carried with him the largest pitcher he owned, for he intended first of all to go to the waterfall. When he reached it, he found to his great surprise all his neighbors there. They were carrying pitchers, jars, buckets, anything they could find to hold the magic sake. Then one villager knelt and held his mouth under the waterfall to drink. He drank again, and then shouted angrily, "Water! Nothing but water!" Others also tried, but there was no sake, only cold water. "We have been tricked!" shouted the villagers. "Where is Taro? Let us drown him in this waterfall." But Taro had been wise enough to slip behind a rock when he saw how things were going. He was nowhere to be found. Muttering their anger and disappointment, the villagers left the place one by one. Taro came out from his hiding place. Was it true? He wondered. Was the sake a dream? Once more he caught a little liquid in his hand and put it to his lips. It was the same fine sake. To the thoughtful son, the magic waterfall gave the delicious sake. To everyone else, it gave only cold water. The story of Taro and his magic waterfall reached the Emperor of Japan. He sent for the young woodcutter and rewarded him with 20 pieces of gold for having been so good and kind. Then he named the most beautiful fountain in the city after Taro. This, said the emperor, was to encourage all children to honor and obey their parents.